Set to start. 80 seconds.
Hi, I'm Neil and welcome to the Crosscast. Hi, I'm Neil and welcome to the Crosscast. Can you believe it's already episode 7 of season 9 and the cursed period is coming? Have you got your cursed tree up? In today's crosstalk, we have so much to chat about, from Bradford, Hunsworth, Tong. Just covering my bases there for all of the 3 names it's been going by. Yeah, we're going to unpack Hunsworth. We're also going to cover, be careful how I say this, Terralba, Sardinia. And if that's not enough cyclocross goodness, we will then move on to one of Xan's favourite races. But the question is it going to be Kortrijk or Namur now? In today's Laster On, we will preview the openers of the cursed period, where we have the A to Z of the classic seasonal cross. So Antwerp is your A, Koksijde, Gavere, and Zolder can be your Z. I'm joined in the studio, as always, by Xan and Matt Payne. Matt, now I'm not sure about this, but I heard a rumour that you were back on this side of the channel. Was that correct? Or am I going to have to edit this out?
No, you are correct. You don't need to edit. Don't worry. It's fine. It's fine. I was, I was mildly distracted in a slight pedantic moment that you'd actually said Antwerp, Koksijde, Gavere, and Zolder, which is Gavere and Zolder, which is not actually alphabetically correct.
Yeah, but it's still an A to Z, isn't it?
It's kind of with a bit of zigzagging in the middle. Sorry, I was just slightly distracted. Yes, I was back in the UK. Did come back and have a quick visit. Visited family and friends, basically. One friend and a whole lot of family, basically. And the friend was a flying visitor at a garden centre cafe. So it was like in, done, wham bam, on a plane, back again. Very, very quick. It was great fun. It was a lot of eating, a lot of food out, because I've literally met everybody either at a restaurant or a cafe. So, yes, I've had my fill of mince pies. I've been back over to the UK and done my pre-Christmas kind of stretch, ready for the curse period, because like everybody else in the cyclocross, getting ready for the curse period and the Christmas period, where we get really busy. I get really busy when we're really busy here. So, been getting my riding in as much as possible before we get there, which is kind of handy as well. It was good. In between watching a lot of cyclocross, I got to say, absolutely loving it. It's kind of a bit like a warm-up weekend that we've just had on the run-in to the World Cups, because it's been really busy. That's like, just race after race after race to watch, and then try and keep up with everybody's social media, all the comments, watch all the videos, all the drone videos that people are sending out, catch up with Dave Hagar's videos and his YouTube as well. Always loving Dave stuff. It's just like bombarded by media. It's great. It's what we love about cross, and a real mix of racing across various different sort of regions of the world as well. I mean, it seems a long time ago that we were in Sardinia and it was sloppy wet and not, and almost muddy, where Xan wasn't. And then where Xan was, and I don't want to go there too many times this show, but we're going to do it a lot. Sorry, Xan, not really. That we're going to, then we've just had what was, for me, one of the best weekends for a long time in cross with the racing at Kortrijk and Namur. And I mean, it's great. I watch it, I shout at the telly, I make copious notes. I have to do a lot of TV watching. Xan, double weekend. What a double weekend. Were you weighing up how hard to go on day one for day two? Was this any special preparation, because it's such a heavy, heavy backloaded weekend with Namur at the I suppose it's better that way around. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say it's better that way around. I will be honest, I sat and deliberated for a very long time on whether to do Kortrijk. This year, I've had quite good consistency at the World Cups, and Namur is a course I love, as I probably say every single show. And it was like, should I really be racing the day before? Because most seasons you do double weekends back to back and back. But this year there haven't been that many European back-to-back races. So other than like the Hope Series and a few in Sweden, I've not done doubles. And the first 2 rounds of the World Cup Series were singular race weekends. So it's like, oh, should I be doing this? And in the end, I was like, you know what? Every year I've done Namur, I've always raced the day before. It's going to throw me off if I don't race it. And obviously right now I'm very, very glad I sat and did it because it was a great race. I did really enjoy it. But obviously came away with quite a decent result as well. But yeah, it's kind of hard because you want to give everything, especially in a race like Kortrijk this year where you have a really good chance to get that good result. You want to be there and at the front of the race. But obviously you are aware at the back of your mind, you've got a really, really big race tomorrow and a really tough one at that. Like normally I don't mind how long the race is, but on Saturday at Kortrijk I was like, you know what, if they were ever going to go 45 minutes rather than 55, I'd be quite happy if they did. But not my luck.
Were you sort of thinking, you weren't quite looking at your watch as you went round, Syndrome, but you must have been thinking, it's going to be long here, this is going to go really long. Oh, what's going on? No, really? Today, of all days? It looked a great race. I have to admit, I was watching it thinking, I bet all that crit racing that you did through the summer paid off on that, because there was a lot of bits which were really quick, really, really fast. And a lot of, if you didn't pedal at the right moment out of the corner, you just lost so much ground in there. That racing the crits through the summer must have made a difference.
Oh yeah, like racing the crits is so good. Like even just the basic, like they're both very similar in length. Like they're typically around the 50 minutes, and you're pretty much on the limit for those. So it kind of, you get used to going around the corner. In the crits, yes, you've got other people, but that means you have to be mentally switched on. So you come to cross and you probably only got 1 or 2 people, but you still have to be switched on to make sure you're taking the right line, that you're not kind of getting your wheels in a place where the rider in front's going to take you out. But one thing this season, I will say I've been cursed and it's all been really dry. But because it has been quite dry, what we're finding at the races is actually we're riding faster because the rain and like the mud isn't slowing us down. So we're actually going faster into these corners and round them, which is actually making it really difficult. Like I normally might crash, a few times a season. I've not raced yet this year without crashing. And I like to see myself as quite like a good technical rider, and I normally have a lot of confidence on the bike. But I think it's because this year you really are pushing the tyres as far as they can go because, like it's just that fast at the races at the moment. Whereas it sounds like you've been at one of my very old training grounds with, it sounds like probably a bit different conditions over there.
Yeah, it was. We were back at Sinfin. I was racing at Sinfin last weekend. It was the previous week I was up at Bradford, but it's somewhere where we were looking back. Looking back. When was it last there? I'll tell you how old it is. There is no Strava heat map of it. That's how old it was. So
seriously?
It was.
No way.
I reckon it was possibly 2012, might even been 2010. I was talking to someone who might be joining a team with a very nice kit for next season, and we worked out he's not he wasn't born in 2010. So it's like so
yeah.
it was.
Now you know how we feel that on a weekly, daily basis. That is all right.
It was. Yeah, but the course, it was so funny because I don't know if people saw my my course preview of it, and if you made it right to the end, well done. But at the end, I say, when I was last here, I was thinking about who else was racing, and it was when we were all racing together. I think I'd just gone up to Master Vet 40s at the time, and there were Gav Hardwick, and there was Andy Naylor, and everyone's favourite UCI commissaire, Lee Shumburn, was fighting out at the front with Andy Stewart from Nottingham Clarion, Dave Ash from Nottingham Clarion.
Wow.
So it was, and Andy Naylor, did I mention Andy Naylor? Yeah, so it was kind of, there was that bunch who were at the front of the races when I was there last time. Of course, things have changed. But then there are just little bits of the course. You go out in the corner and you think, I remember this bit, But yeah, it was really good. It was a good race. I got 7th, which I was relatively happy with, or very happy with. 1 place behind you, Xan, on the same day. Very, very different type of race, and it was and it was quite nice because I go well in the conditions where you put out a lot of power for about 30 seconds and then you recover. I'm not kind of a a plugger where you can take lots of watts for 4 or 5 minutes. That one isn't my best condition, so it was perfect for that. But yeah, it was quite nice to be back to a proper grassroots venue. Really good course, and I just really hope we can go back there again. But there was the other news from there was we had Ben Chilton, who had a really cracking head-to-head race with James Swadling, went all the way to the end. It was so good to see the two of them because it meant James had to open it up much more than he would have done otherwise. And Ben was trying really hard to get away.
He's not been racing that much cross. Let's face it. He's this is Ben's what comes out and just goes for it sort of syndrome.
So it was,
sure,
but after 2 years of being a pro cyclist, he's like you expect him to be quick. So it was really nice to see the two of them there. I hope Ben enters national champs again like he did last year, and that was quite nice. So yeah, Ben, do it. But yeah, it was great. Yeah, I mean James Swadling, of course, he's become Mr. Holeshot Man for the National Trophy Series this year. It doesn't seem to matter where we go, he gets the whole shot. So yeah, James is good. So let's think about Bradford, which was my previous week. Well, let's go straight to results on this. I was the only one of the three of us who was actually there in person, although I think you were both following it from afar. So we had Thomas Main. He completed a clean sweep. And I think he's one of the most, winningest riders in the world this year at the moment. I think he's second in the world for the number of wins.
Winningest.
Of UCI raced, yeah. He's got a clean sweep now, another win ahead of Toby and Dan Barnes. James Fodlin took that trademark whole shot, of course, at the beginning, but then Toby Barnes was lightning quick. But then Thomas Main kind of settled in, reeled him in, and then it was another really classy race from Thomas. So yeah, it's been good to see him kind of with that real. This year he's kind of been one after the other. And then in the women's race, it was Fionn Drake had a great start, but she never looked comfortable. Even Anna Kay was there. She got a wheel in the lead early on. Anna was great, riding bits that no one else was riding. But then I think it was lap 2, lap 3, Grace Inglis just went to another level, not just for her, but for everybody else as well. Big dig. And then I think we saw Fionn get cracked for the first time in this year's National Trophy, at least. So it was, for the sport, it was brilliant. We kind of had a very different race turnaround, very, very different type of story that happened there. And without forgetting, of course, we have Freya Whiteside. Yes, amazing ride there with an excellent second, and then Eleanor Day coming in third. So that's my very, very long intro. But yeah, it was at the event there, it was great. It was such a good December National Trophy.
It looked like a class, we all sort of say classic cross conditions, and it's got to look like a ploughed field, and it's got to be sloppy mud, and it's got to be lots of running. It looked pretty much an absolute. It looked like a ploughing match had been through 4 times over, plus torrential rain. And some of the videos that I saw of the women's race, particularly, where you can see the fog and the rain, and I just thought, it's that Baltic wet, Pennine, Bradford, yuck. But everybody seemed to be absolutely, they were giving it everything and having to give everything on the course. I mean, it looked like you couldn't relax anywhere. Was the only bit that wasn't muddy the start to finish straight? Was that the only bit that wasn't muddy? Because I'm not sure I saw anywhere else that didn't look non-claggy.
That isn't the only bit that wasn't muddy, and that's what makes a good course. So you have got muddy bits, but there are bits that aren't, and there are bits that are in between. And there are lots of bits where it might be quicker to run it, or it might be quicker to ride it. And no matter what you do, you'll love it. You're the slower route, and there's choices. And it was a really well laid out race, I have to say. The there were so many parts of that course which were really hard, in the sense of you knew that if you could ride it, it would be good. And a lot of line choices, those, where you're going 4 times the distance, but you're carrying your momentum. And it was really slippery, really slick. And well, I can say from personal experience, I was plumb last over the start-finish line after the first lap. So I had a reasonable start for me, but then had a big, fast slide out on a slippery corner. And then I slid along the ground, and then I saw my bike disappear under the bike was on the other side of the tape, and it slid away.
Brilliant.
And then my helmet, after I'd slid, it kind of went all wonky. So I had to do all this stuff of, first of all, retrieve my bike from the other side of the tape. And then I thought, I can't not check this helmet. I mean, I didn't bang my head, but it's just because I slid along the ground. So it kind of pulled and pulled, and it was all over the place. So I thought, I can't race unless I'm sure that this is all okay. So I went into the pit, popped my helmet all back together again. So I lost a minute doing that. And I'd already been in, yes, my earliest ever pit. I went into the pit after 35 seconds. On the first lap, off the start.
I should laugh here, but
it was the best bit is Finn was pitting for me, and he's got a video of everyone coming past on the start, and it's like, where's Dad? Where's Dad? And then suddenly you hear this shout from the side, and the phone kind of gets dropped. So you realise he's coming in. It was a unplanned tactical pit, because that, my race, which was one of the biggest ones, there were people falling off all over the place, and it was just like completely carnage and blocked. So in front of me on one side, I've got all these people all over the place, a lot of people lying down. On the other side, I've got this beautifully clear green line. I thought, I'm just going to go through the pit and change my bike. It can't be worse than that, surely. I think it was 50-50. It wasn't as fast as I was hoping. But yeah, so I pitted twice before I'd got over the timing mats, for various reasons. Anyway, the course was really good, actually. I loved it. The atmosphere was fabulous. And it was because it was all kind of filtered down into one area. It was that real sweet spot where you've got sign on, you've got the start, you've got the finish all together. You've got the coffee, the traders, and the entrance to get to the pit. The pit was in a great place, actually, so you could get to it. You had to drop your water and stuff off, but it wasn't too far. And so it just meant there was this really nice area. I spoke to so many people who you don't often get a chance to, just because you're just milling both directions with them. So it was really well laid out. Once you come through that gate, it was absolutely superb. But in terms of the racing, I messaged you both on the day saying things are different.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it's really. I mean, the mighty Fionn Drake has been toppled from the top step, which is saying something, because she's been so dominant so far, and she's shown that form, and we've got those conditions, and yet it was kind of business as usual in the men's race. So it can't just be conditions. Surely there's got to be other things in there as well. And I mean, Fionn Drake's been racing a lot, and she's raced some really high level races. And, for the first time racing in a UCI World Cup and doing all these sorts of things, that's all that's going to take. I think it's taking the mental toll as well, having flown in and out and been sat in airports and done a load of traveling this week. Can't underestimate the impact that traveling has. And you were talking about this last time, Dan, about doing the trip across from Tabor to Flamanville. That that by having somewhere that where you're sleeping, where you're stopping, all those little things that help, it makes a difference. So if you don't have that, and you go to somewhere new, and you've got that new experience, and it's been a real breakthrough season, from a point of view of taking trophy wins as well. And I think that's got to have taken effect and taken a pause, take a break and a reset. But I'm sure it's given hope. I mean, you must be really looking forward to nationals in national champs in lots of ways. The next time you race, everybody you get the gang back together again and see how everybody's going. That's got to be it's got to be giving you hearts, aren't there?
Yeah, like, I think national champs this year, I thought it was incredibly exciting last year, the field we had. Even just the thought of it now and the riders, we could have, because obviously Zoe Backstead's not started back yet. So if she's going to come back for national champs this year, like, that's quite exciting to obviously have her to compare with riders like Fionn Drake, who have just gotten so much stronger this year. And can't say came from nowhere, because she was really good in the gravel season as well. And I think especially because I think Fionn said that she crashed at Flamanville, and I think that injury has been playing up on her, which is why, like, she's then sat out, say, like, the Namur World Cup, and I think is now resting until Irvine. So, like, obviously that is probably taking some impact along with the travel. If she's now got this time, hopefully, to recover from that injury, but also then to get in another massive or good training block before we get to champs, she is definitely going to be one to watch. And I just think that is going to be an incredible race, whichever way it goes. Obviously, I know which way I'd like it to go. And I think the thing is, it's at South Shields this year, which from my memory and from the race I've done there, it actually makes really exciting racing, because similar to bits like Kortrijk, it is quite close and bunchy racing, and we could actually have a really good battle. I think both in the men's and potentially in the women's and potentially in the men's race as well, because we'll have Cam versus Tom, which we've really not seen that much this year. And we've seen how close Toby Barnes was to, like, Tom in places. Will he be able to, like, hold their pace at national champs? Because it's one thing looking at the results in Europe and where people are coming there, but when you get rid of all the riders in between and bring them together at national champs, you can often see slightly different results to what you would see purely from the European racing.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we hands up, we didn't mention it as much as we should have done. Fionn's performances when she did her World Cup in the last show, and so I think it must have been it must have been difficult for Fionn to work out what am I going to do over this period here. And I think if that is her only World Cup this year, and she's focusing everything on national champs, I don't think that would be a bad decision. I think it could also be a very good decision to go and race some World Cups, So, but I think, if in terms of,
that's a big shout, Neil.
No, but
that's a big shout. Because I think that.
I was talking to a team manager some time ago and saying, what's the team for? That we were kind of comparing what Gritty Race Team are for compared to what their team's for, and and it's kind of, with our reason to exist is different, and it could be that for many riders, it could be the same for Grace Inglis, who's clearly got speed and form. If for them the transformative result of the year would be that one race, that's the thing that they should prioritize above other things. And the process to get there is a different matter altogether. That might involve racing World Cups, it might involve racing on the continent, it might involve going to Sardinia and having a good training block. So it could be very, very different for different people, but it's kind of, you've got to see why are you there, what are you trying to do this year.
Yeah, but I also think there is that. It's one thing going and doing a race and getting used to it, and when Fionn rode at Flamanville, there's clearly, with that crash, with that injury, it wasn't reflective of probably what she would have done based on performances up to that point, and it's impacted. And I do think there's coming up when you've got, for me, Benidorm has got her name written all over it, in terms of being a great race for her skill set and where she's at and the gravel racing experience she's got so far. Because it's not a crit course, it's not a gravel race over a super short lap. It is still a cross race, but I think the mix would suit her. And I also think Maasmechelen and Hoogerheide weekend is a great one to go and then experience that double weekend, because whether or not you're selected for World Champs, I think that double weekend there, if you're not selected for World Champs, it's a great double weekend to do It's really they're a great couple of courses. They're very different courses in lots of ways, but very similar in others. And I think that would be a great weekend. And when you're clearly as talented as Fionn is and have put in that dedication, you've got to run it. You've got to make the most of it. And I think it'd be, and it's not incompatible with coming out of a great national champs. Because everything's so close together. It's like boom, 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 boom. It's very, very quick. Very, very quick. National champs is the 11th of January-ish, and then you go to the world champs, and the world champs is on the beginning of February, first of Feb.
Yeah.
So you're only talking a couple, 2-3 weeks tops. It's not impossible. Not impossible with all that packed in there.
And we talk about Ellen a day a fair amount, so I'm not going to mention her anymore. But the other person there was Freya Whiteside, Irish champ.
What a ride!
And I would look back over her results, and what is the common thing for her best ever results? National champs, national trophies. So that's her best ever result national. So she was 4th in Crawley when she was an junior. If you remember what Crawley was like. And then the first year we were at Paynton, she was 4th again as a junior. Remember what that was like? And then this was the next best result that she's had. This is the best result she's ever had, which is elite at Bradford. And
she needs to go to Dendermonde then, clearly.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah.
Go right Dendermonde.
So Freya is, she's got a lot of power there when it gets dirty and muddy. I think this has clearly been a great season there, and she's kind of doing a countdown almost. It's not quite perfect, but almost in her results this year. So the numbers are getting smaller and smaller with every race. So a really impressive ride. Now she's got Irish nationality, although she's raced British champs in the past, so I'm not sure which national champs she would be eligible for this year. But either side, I think there's some good potential there for sure.
Definitely. She's a rider who we've seen growing up on the national trophy scene and
exactly
the national scene for years and years, and clearly that experience. Saying this about a really young rider, but a really experienced rider, all that has added up and just pulled it out when she needed to. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going. It was good. It was really, really good. I have to say, it was good. I have to say, I'm going to put out a plea now because my daughter lives down the road from the venue, quite literally. If you follow that road down the hill, go across the crossroads, down the next bit, go across the next crossroads, and somewhere up on that next hillside, that's where my daughter lives. She was asked, what on earth was going on? Was this cycling thing something to do with you? Because it's caused carnage in the area. And I was like, what's going on? I wasn't there, but I have heard that that there was some interesting things happening in terms of parking or not great parking.
It was okay. There were two sides to this. One of them is, I said earlier on, people that may have picked up on it. Everything inside the gate was brilliant at the race. Outside the gate, it wasn't so brilliant. So I really did feel for the organisers, I have to say, because it must have been a nightmare. And it was, and I mean that from when you have that nightmare and one thing goes wrong and then another thing goes wrong and everything goes wrong and everything goes wrong and everything goes wrong and then hopefully you wake up. Well, of course, this was for real, and so they had the commitment to having the hard standing start. Without going into around all of the details of it, basically it meant the parking they were hoping to use they couldn't get to, and it couldn't happen on the day, and so that's why the parking was on the roads outside. And then, so they knew it wasn't going to be the easiest. So carefully had gone out, put passing places in, put cones out for passing places, and made it clear where people shouldn't park on the first day. Unfortunately, when people were arriving, they saw these nice passing places which had cones in, and thought, oh, that must be another bit of the parking that's reserved for us. Or that's me being kind on that. Alternatively, they might have seen it and said, the rest of you will take that place. But because there was a lot of it that happened, and basically it meant there was like a mile of road where there was no passing place. And so it was just gridlock from both ends. I saw the police turn up coming through at one point. I didn't see police around at all, but I did see one of the cars go along because I was warming up when it happened. So it started off being bad, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then people parking, come when you're the next car along, and then next car along was then on some nicely looked after verges and nicely looked after areas. So it was.
You can't imagine that anybody planned on messing it up,
exactly,
and blocking anybody. I really do hope nobody thought, well, blow everybody else, because the problem is that what was an amazing course and race is probably now never going to be repeated in there, particularly if emergency services can't get through. Would you want your grandma, mum, dad, family member at the other end of that, unable to get a hospital when they've got an issue? As a local resident, probably not. And there's the emergency service and the advisory group are just going to go, well, yeah, you can have the best course in the world, but we can't let that happen again because the risk is just too high. And if it's caused by thoughtlessness or people doing silly things, then that's really sad. We all want to race great courses. We all want to go to watch great racing, but with that, comes a responsibility to look after. Think about where you are. I mean, we one of the reasons we don't go to Southampton, amazing course, brilliant venue. Loved the racing there. Great organising team, but one of the reasons why it eventually went, and it's not the only reason, but it is one of the reasons, it is just quite simply because the car parking was all in this local estate, and people tried not to jam that up as well. But it seems quite retrogressive that we've gone back to that, but that we've gone back to not having a car park in a national trophy. But beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we could unpick it and point fingers and or as much as we wanted to, but it's not going to solve it. It's just it's one of those things. As said earlier, and as you say, Matt. I don't think anyone sat down and said, "Oh, what's the best way to churn up someone's front garden?" You know what I mean? It's like that wasn't the intention, but that was the result. Yeah. So that was a metaphorical. That didn't. No, as far as I know, no one churned up someone's front garden, but there was bits and villages.
I hope not, because around there they've got long memories.
Yeah, exactly. I know it. So the love goes out from the Crosscast to the organisers, but also to people that were there. So when it comes to, and if you're promoting races, I was talking about it in the van on the way home. It's like, what could have been different? Oh, well, maybe there was some things that, it sounds really obvious now, but if there were cones out, then put a sign on them to say why the cones are there. Things like that. It's kind of it may not be obvious. Assume that it's not obvious to other people, and maybe. But I don't know. It was just one of those things. I hope that round gets remembered for the brilliant racing it gave us. Not only the fact that it was the parking wasn't the easiest, but anyway, let's talk about proper cross, not crossing the road. So let's go over to somewhere else which was difficult to get to. Sardinia. So this was round 10 out of 10,
10 out of 10 for the segue.
Oh man, I'm Segway king.
Genius, mate. Absolute genius. Anyone think we've done 9 seasons of this?
Round 3 of the World Cup. It came from Sardinia. Brand continued her dominant form, taking another win ahead of Van Alphen and Van Anrooy. Somehow, I never get bored of watching Brand win on the ball. It's not like some other riders. It's just exciting. In the men's race, we have Van Turenhout, who was denied us a change in the World Cup leadership by taking the win ahead of Nieuwenhuis and Laurens Fiek. It was dry, it was sunny, there was sand, lots of road, yet somehow you look at the riders coming over the finish line and they are absolutely smothered in, well, slop, I think. It was
it's Sardinian mud, mate.
grim.
It's like Belgian toothpaste. It's just a different version. That's all it is. Sardinian
But
slop.
how can you end up looking like that? You see those photographs. Matt, you mentioned it before we recorded. What did you say about the start of it? It had the best ever beginning.
It is the opening. I have cut that. I've cut the opening because the panning shot coming in to across the bay, over the marina, down into the start line, the sun's shining, you go in the cyclocross race, thought, this is what we need. This is it's stunning. It's one of the most panoramic, beautiful openings to a cross race I think I've ever seen. I dread to think how many days of my life have been spent watching cross races. It's still, that's got to be one of the best ever, if not the best ever, opening to a cross race. The race route, I thought, was brilliant in lots of ways. I thought with the terrain that they had, I mean, bearing in mind that it got blown away by a torrential storm last time, if the worst of the storm again came through, clearly Sardinia is not the place to go this time of year, but go any other time of the year. It's stunning because they had the torrential downpour. Everything got flooded. And so you had this sort of, because you can't ride through standing water. It was floodwater that was draining away still, officially. But I think for me, I thought it was a great course. I thought it produced some really interesting racing. It seemed to be a cross between super, super fast and yet at the same time, really on the edge. You know what you were describing earlier there, Xan, about being right on the limit and everybody going flat out. And it felt like that as well.
Yeah.
I was watching it thinking, when's somebody going to really come off fast here? Because they're really motoring here. I mean, I loved it. It wasn't the biggest attended race, and yet I thought it was some great racing. I thought great opportunity for people and a great way to get points, big point score, in the UCI World Cup for anybody who made that journey. But I thought the racing was good. I agree with you, Neil. I never get tired of watching Brand win. Seems to give it everything. I'm sure, Sam, from your point of view, you get to see it sort of riding in front of you, not this nice panoramic shots that we get. So for you, maybe that's a different thing.
Yeah, I guess I get to see quite how aggressive she is when she gets through. So not necessarily the more recent World Cup, but some races back end last season, or actually some of the earlier World Cup rounds this year. I've had the pleasure of having Brand come past, and my goodness, she has no mercy. But that is how you need to be racing at that level. And it's actually sometimes quite nice to see. It's right, that's how I should be doing it. That's what I need to be doing. I need to be cutting through everyone and just going for it. It's kind of weird because when you're in, as a rider, if you're not winning, it doesn't really matter who's winning, but you do also have friends in the field. You have riders. For me, Brand is a rider that she's been around for a little while. So while I was more a junior under 23 rider, she was one of the ones you'd look up to. And to still be racing with her these days is such a cool thing. But my goodness, the way she has come into this season, the fact that she hasn't finished below second place yet this cyclocross season is absolutely wild. I know her podium streak is, I think it's at 52 now. But
yeah, I think it is.
But the fact that ridiculous. She hasn't even finished lower than second this season, I think is just a testament to how good she is. And
yeah, I think she's the news came out after she'd raced.
Yeah.
And it's the news nobody wants to be racing with. Her mum had passed away. And I thought it was really incredible that she even raced, because I'll tell you something, I wouldn't be there. I would just not. That wouldn't be happening. I mean, that just shows you that how dedicated she is, and maybe just having that focus of doing something totally different. Who knows? hopefully it'll be a long time before I have to think about what I would do, what I do in the same situation. But she's such a driven rider. And you saw that again this week. And I think she's so dominant at the moment. And yet she doesn't feel quite like domination from a viewing point of view, just because it's great racing behind. And it was another great race behind. I mean, there's some really interesting things there. Selena Alvarado not being well, just dropping back out of it. Some of the racing in there, I just thought was brilliant. Van Alphen and Van Anrooy's charge up through the field and making mistakes. I mean, there was lots. If you're a cyclocross fan, there was lots to watch there and think, actually, there's lots of subtlety here. And there's lots of mistakes being made because it is so different. I kind of hope we'll go back. I thought it was really smart. Some of the riders did a training camp there. And we're exploring the island and doing that again. I hope people do, but I don't know. Come on, Neil, what do you think?
I think it's... I liked some bits of the course. I didn't really like other bits, to be honest. There were bits that I thought were... bits I liked. I love their steps section, particularly in the previews where you've got the riders who are hopping up them. It's just
up kind to the church and then back down again. Yeah.
So things I think things like that have got the opportunity to become classic features. That's the thing. Which one's Sardinia? It's that one. Oh yeah. It's sort of that sort of opportunity is there. But Zan, what are your thoughts on it?
Yes, I think sometimes a round like this needs a chance to actually grow. And I do wonder if obviously last year might have put people off travelling this year. But if we look at Dublin, the very first year we went to Dublin, we had the crowds, but the ride numbers were, I think, 25-ish in each field. Whereas the following year we were getting 40-ish riders. And I think sometimes a venue like this, it almost needs a few riders to go give it a test out. And then they come back and from what I've heard from other riders and from watching myself, it looks like a really good course. It's like they've taken things from the other races, learnt from last year and what happened then, and kind of improved on this course. And as far as I'm aware, I think a lot more riders are considering, if it is back on the calendar, that actually, maybe this is one I will try to travel to. And I think it just needs that bit of time. Again, it's also whether they space it out, because one thing of this year's calendar, we kind of went to Bourg, Flamanville, Cabras. So we went everywhere but Belgium, and now we're doing a big Belgium block. So it has kind of favoured the Belgian World Cups, because everyone's like, I'll just travel to Belgium for the big block and I'll pick between the other three. And whether if we mixed it up, okay, yes, that does mean more travelling for the entire peloton, but does that mean people would commit and do these rounds more? It's obviously hard to say until we do that. But I personally do hope it's back, because it looked so much fun. From a rider, I was like, actually, I thought we was going to get kind of Benidorm 2.0, but no, it looked like a really, really good course.
I agree, yeah. It's something which is quite different to Benidorm, and I think that's a real credit to it. So the other course that we were promised to cover today, the other urbanish one from Kortrijk, it has its multiple bridge crossings, and I thought Mason was going to just go away, lap the field, have his glory day, but it wasn't to be.
Are you sure you didn't get a bang on the head in Bradford?
Well, with Van der Putte,
to go away and lap the field.
The Van der Putte taking the win. Van der Putte with his big biceps. It always seems to be a different build to the others. He's really muscly, isn't he, Van der Putte? He took the win ahead of Mason and Camp after Van Turenhout hit the deck on the bridge. Inge van Heiden took her win ahead of Ruberow and Brouwers. Now, last time we were on the show, Zan, you were not sure about I think you were sure about your opinions of Kortrijk. Now, after you've been there, I think maybe you've softened a little bit. You seem to feel some of the love there, or how do you feel about it now?
Believe it or not, I still feel the same way about the course. I think it's a good course. It's definitely a really good. I'm glad it's on the calendar, because it sounds weird. It's one of these ones that the shots you get from it are great. The watching it on TV, you're like, wow, that's really cool. That bridge that goes over every it's such a great location to have across, and it's something different. It's really unique because of where it's based, and kind of you do have lots of tarmac. but they actually still have quite a lot of really good cyclocross features, like the run up to the bridge. There's lots of really greasy, slippy corners. Like, it is a great cross course. Probably not my favourite still, and I still feel like it's one of those ones people are going to hate me saying this, but probably like doesn't suit me as much as others do. But it is one I enjoy, and
But you had a cracking ride, Anne, and you got a nice bit of TV time on there. So it was really nice for us to be able to actually see you get a good start and to certainly follow at least the first half of your race in, being in shot with the, where you were in a group. I think it was fighting for, I think at one point it was a big group fighting for third, and then it, kind of split up a little bit. So how was it for you? How did the race unfold for you? I certainly loved watching it. It was really, really exciting to be able to follow it rather than just on the ticker. So how did it unfold?
Yeah, it's just one of those ones that like is so fast. Like, I don't think there were necessarily more attacks. It was more a case of it just strung apart, an elastic broke, whether that was you were on the back of the group and then came off. Inge van der Heijden is an incredible starter, and we saw that. I think she managed to basically get away because she got on the front, and like riders like Ribaroli and Helen Clausel originally at the start were a bit further back, didn't have as good starts, so she just kept the gas on and managed to pull Julie Brouwers away with her, and those two made that distance quite quickly on. And then I say at one point we did have a group about 5 of us for third place, which, my goodness, trying to sit in that group it was so fast and so hard. And as you say, with Namur the day after, you're like, oh, I'm burning a lot of matches here. But at the same time, you just want to give it everything in the moment. So it was very much a case of just trying to see how long you could hold on for. And there's a lot, that course to me is kind of a course of, I wouldn't even say 2 halves. It's a case of you have long straight, really tight cornery wiggles, long straight. So it's not like there are like 2 halves. It's just a case of you have straight sections, wiggly sections, straight sections, wiggly sections. And I was always like, just please get me to the wiggly section, because if I was off the back of my group, I could then get myself back on without having to like completely empty the tank.
Yeah.
But no, it was just a really, really good race. It was a case of kind of Ribaroli attacked our group when she was trying to chase after second place, and like, fair play to her. Like, her speed in that attack, I like could not match.
And was this the first race in anger on the new bike as well?
Yes. So this was my very first race on my new Van Rysel cross bikes. And that was also one of the reasons for racing it. I was a bit like, is it sensible to take brand new cross bikes straight to Namur? So getting to give them a bit of a...
I didn't think about that. Yeah, great move. Yeah. Great move. Yeah. Give them a shakedown at Kortrijk beforehand in competition. And clearly you seem at home at them.
Yeah.
Totally seem at home with them.
Yeah, like, I think it's because I've obviously had them set up, and I've had them set up to match like the 2026 restrictions on them, but I've matched them very close to how they were. And people, so because like it's going, because obviously I was riding Pinarello's prior, people are like, oh, they're not going to ride, they're going to be 2 completely different bikes. They actually ride quite similarly, especially because I've got them set up in a very similar position. So that transition over to the bikes has been actually quite natural, and they've been great so far. I really can't complain about the results I pulled off in the first weekend.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I've always been a fan of the Van Rysels, actually, particularly since they put the team in the mountain biking, because you've got all these bikes people are racing, and £15,000 worth of bikes for some of these, and then you've got the Van Rysel, which is leading the whole lot, which you can buy off the peg, and pretty much identical to the one that's being raced there. And it's like, these are really good, really, they're clever how they've been designed, manufactured, and spec'd out. So I've always been a real fan of them, actually. So yeah, I was really pleased when I knew you were moving on to them. We spoke about it a while back, actually, but so I was so chuffed when you actually got them and you're now racing on them, and particularly getting that result out. And they look nice as well. They look really good.
Oh yeah, they're a very pretty colour, I can't lie.
Yeah, that's cool. So unless, but someone who may have scratched a bike who was there was Van Turenhout, who hit the deck. Ryan Camp is always there, isn't he, when it's not his fault. But it reminds me of when I was at school. It's like, I was always there. and always got blamed. Honestly, it was never me, Gov, but you're just kind of always in the place where the trouble happened.
My mum had a wonderful phrase, because I've got 3 brothers, and she always used to sort of say, if one or two of us were falling out, it was equal fault. But if one person fell out with every other brother, she knew exactly who it would be. Now, I kind of get where you're coming from here, Neil, because it's Ryan Camp versus who? And it used to be Isabet in Van Tornout. Now it's Van Tornout and Levressen, I think it was, who were the two playing the Palshausen's team tactic game. Is this... It certainly seemed to build to the fact... If you saw the sort of the build-up and then you just saw Van Tornout laid on the floor, you'd go, yeah, Camp's taken him out. Clearly, they've come together. Actually, I'm not sure that was the case. I'm not sure that actually Camp had anything at all to do with the fact that Van Tornout was laid on the floor. I think Van Tornout accelerated into a back wheel.
Yeah,
he clipped a wheel.
But this is the problem, isn't it? So I've one of my expressions in when I'm mentoring people, actually, which I do a fair amount through the business stuff, is make friends before you need them. So it's like, don't just have someone as your friend when you need them. You've kind of got to build the bridges in advance. And Camp I don't think he's made many friends. Whether it's whether it's just he's got his name on his shorts, so you always know who he is, where he is.
Has Ryan Camp, though, fallen out with anybody who isn't Palshausen's? Or have we seen him elbow to elbow with anybody else?
I don't know. I
can't think of anybody else that there's been this issue with. I don't think Toonets, but there's plenty of people who've had issues with the Palshausen's team when it was Isabet and Van Tornout playing that team tactics. And again, those team tactics seem to be being played out at Kortrijk, and it just seems to rub some people, maybe just rubs Ryan Camp up the wrong way, and he really
even
just
within the team itself with Lawrence Fake.
Years ago. Who left? Maybe. To be a fly on the wall on the conversations there, that would have been,
Well, let's move on.
Netflix documentary from inside that.
The other important thing to note about Kortrijk is then, particularly for Zan's perspective, it was only one more sleep until Namur. And then we got Namur, and it was all set up, and you could hear over the speaker system the old Beatles classic, "Here Comes the Zan," and it was sunny and dry. And Zan, you're like the opposite. You're the person that everyone should go on holiday with this year, because wherever you go, it's dry and sunny.
This is how Zan is going to fund next season's racing. She's going to be available to go wherever you go on holiday. Guaranteed, there will be no mud. It will just be sun.
So it was dry. It was an absolute. Honestly, it was an absolute stunner. It was. I mean, Namur's always great, but I mean, it was just a stunning race. Van der Poel taking that win ahead of Nace, and thankfully recovered Van Tornout after the previous day. But this was no old school Van der Poel dominance. It was something new. That was amazing. Women's race, Brand, again, another beautiful ride. No signs of slowing down at all, with another dominant win, this time ahead of Van Alphen. And Falconet, she's looking good this year, isn't she? Although I have to say, I was just as excited to see Puck Pieterse racing, and even more so, Jolanda Neff coming in fifth. That was amazing. And seeing her the first time when she went across those cambers, it was just, this is just so cool. So much that was just brilliant about that race, despite it not being quite as
stunning race.
As we would have wanted it.
Brilliant. Started off, the first thing I watched, actually, before I watched the racing, I watched Pieterse's course preview. And in that, she catches up with Neff until she gets to the traverse. And then it's just like, Meow! And Neff's just going on in the distance. And she's like, oh my gosh. And it's like, oh, well, that's how it's going to be, is it? And you just thought, Neff's clipped in, going across the traverse, was just, exactly, absolutely mind-blowingly just, that is, you know, sort of you see the old pictures of people walking over the Niagara Falls on a tightrope with, you know, you get the impression that Yolanda Neff could skip and dance across it or ride across it on the cross bike on that tightrope, because she just had that absolutely, the balance, you know, cat-like reflexes, absolutely had it dialed. Just, you know, I think so many people watched that and just went, wow.
Yeah. So, Zan, you've raced there lots of times, or several times. Was it just Neff being amazing, or was it just really easy in comparison? Or was it a bit of both?
See, it's so hard this year to say. I don't know how much you get to see on TV about like tyre choices. But so normally Namur is a mud tyre. Like, it's no debate. Namur, you put a mud tyre on, everyone's in the same ballpark. This year you had, like, we did no file treads, let's be honest. But you had, like, your intermediate tyre, you had your full mud, and you had what I typically would call a middle mud type tyre, like a flangerin if you're running a challenge setup. I saw everything on the start line and in the race. And the grippier tyre you go, the easier those, like, off-camera ruts on. And not to give away Yolanda Neff's spoilers, but we saw what was in her pit box. So she was running what would be a middle mud type tyre. So, like, but that she wasn't on a full mud. So there is so much skill there, because it's not even just, you know, sending it down there and be like, oh, I don't clip in. It's because when you're in, because they are ruts, and you might not be able to see that as clear on TV this year, but they are all kind of rutted lines. It's so easy to get flicked out of the ruts, and they're not flat ruts either. They kind of roll a little bit up and down. So to be able to maintain balance, keep clipped in, keep that front wheel perfectly straight so you don't get flicked one way or another on those conditions is incredibly impressive. Like, I'd say you often get mountain bikers come in and do cyclocross, and that's when you see the skills don't transfer perfectly. But she has come in and shown that her skills are both mountain bike and cyclocross skills. And it was honestly incredible to see her, because she came, like, I had the idea she was going to do well because I had a really good start, but she came past me so quickly. I was like, oh, okay, you're on the 5th row and you're already like top 10 in this race. Right, okay, this is a sign of what's to come this season.
She was, I thought her ride up through and the way that she rode really did show. And it was like she hadn't been away. I mean, you know, you think when she got taken out with Pauline Ferrand-Prévot at Koksijde that year, that would be back in probably, what was that, 2013, 2015 kind of time. You know, it's that kind of period, and she's like, she's never been away. She's just like straight back in, and if she's going to get better from there, that's really going to mix things up at the front. Pieterse, Poe didn't look to be a normal self. I mean, it does frustrate me sometimes when people talk about Pieterse as being a mountain biker. I'm thinking, you do remember what she did right before she went mountain biking and won all those mountain biking titles and all the rest of that sort of stuff. You know, she's kind of pretty good on a cross bike.
She does everything,
you know,
well.
She's now an all-round rider. She's an amazing all-round rider. I mean, you know, absolutely brilliant to see her. Maybe not quite where she wanted to be. I think, you know, it's so hard to come in. And when you're racing against Brand was Lucinda Brand was Lucinda Brand. I mean, we've probably said everything there is to say about Lucinda Brand, because it was just pretty much, you know, photocopy, here we go, off you go. Behind, Van Alphen and Amandine Foucault. Foucault, oh, somebody please sign that woman up. Come on. You know, okay, Sam's out of the question. How, you know, she's saying she's still got fingers crossed. I read today she's still got fingers crossed in that she hasn't got a team and that there's no slots left anywhere. How does that work? You know, this is. Come on, son. Can you squeeze another rider on? French one. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. To see the men's race. Yeah. Just, I'm going to watch it all over again. It's just, I might do that tomorrow. That might be tomorrow's job. Yeah, right. It's just a pleasure, is that bit. It's, Nice. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Van Torenhout, good. Mason, not so good. You know, clearly feeling the effects. Matthew van der Poel came back. You know, kind of the Van der Poel of old, but you said, Neil, it's not sort of old school Van der Poel dominance.
Mm.
He said in his interview that was always the plan. I was going to go on the end of towards the last part of the race. It was kind of like there seemed to be a bit of mind games going on there. I don't want to say that wasn't the case, and he was just saying that to wind people up, but I think there was a bit of gamesmanship going on in that post-race interview because he seemed very much to want to just go, yeah, it was all meant to be like that. I did my usual, I'm back. But it didn't seem it from where I was sat. I don't know about you, Neil. I don't, not old school dominance.
No, he was. The exciting thing about it is we've been saying it this year. So Nice has moved from being the new person to the new person coming in to the person who's here, and he's arrived. And what he did to Van der Poel was incredible. He attacked him, and he responded to him, and everything was just there. He was ready, and you think, things could have gone another way on the day. Van der Poel was realistically always going to be, the surprise would be Van der Poel not to win. It's not a surprise that Van der Poel has won. Okay, so it was always stacked the other way. But the fact that Nice came so close was just absolutely phenomenal.
Were you screaming at the TV like I was when Nice dropped back into fourth wheel, and he dropped back, and you just go like, "What are you doing? Get up the front! He's gonna go! He's gonna go! What are you doing? Get up the front!" And then Van der Poel went, "Oh no!" And then he goes back, and you're like, "Oh." I mean, it kind of like you say, Neil. I agree. It was Van der Poel's almost. It would have been a surprise if he didn't win, but brilliant racing.
Yeah.
On the way through there, but some really weird areas. I mean, the area of Van der Poel when he went around that left-hand turn.
Yes,
and it got hooked up on a rut, I think, in there, rather than it almost looked like he washed out, but then it hooked up. Then how he recovered from that, I don't know.
So San, how was
he
it?
just sort of hopped over the bars.
It's kind of, I don't know if you saw that. So very, very steep. The descent where a lot of people have crashed over the years with the going into the left-hander.
Yeah, so that one, there's kind of two lines with like inside line, outside line. It is very steep, and it's that corner at the bottom, but I don't know again if that's shown on TV. They are covered in ruts, both lines on that descent. And I saw people in my race either get that corner or the few before it wrong. And the problem is, like, especially as I'm saying, like, people are pushing like a less grippy tyre, and we're going faster than normal because the course is so dry. So every rider is pretty much on their limits, and I reckon if there was any ounce of like maybe he was like, oh, actually I need to move up now, that could be enough. Although we wouldn't really expect that from the ball, but there's something like that could just maybe enough that he's lost focus for that split second, and then before he knows it, that's it. He's caught the route at the wrong angle and he's off. I mean, the recovery from that, the fact he was back on the main group at the cobbled climb, does show you like there is some of that old Van der Poel in there, like he is ready to come back and hit this cross season.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's also like when we saw.
Yeah, the other thing I was wanted to ask you about from the rider's view, where Nice crashed with it was just before the pit in the final lap. That could have been the race losing move. I hate to say, but yeah, from the camera angle, we couldn't see what the ground was like. What was the ground like down there?
So again, this might be a bit of a surprise. It was, well, I say it was just grass, but it was grassy, but it was slightly slippy and slightly slick. Like there was a slightly kind of like cut out line in the middle, or there was a wider line. And it looks like such an inconspicuous corner, but I found when I was racing that I was going around it a lot slower than I feel like I normally would, because you could tell there wasn't much grip there. It was quite greasy, whether that's because of the number of riders on the course when you've had junior boys and the like youth racing earlier in the day, whether it's because that ground is a little bit wet underneath. But yeah, it looked like it's just a normal 180 TV corner. But actually, again, the more you push that corner, and as I imagine, because it was quite long, they were, I think, at like 52 minutes of racing by this point, and on such like a slick corner, like if you are on your limit trying to beat Van der Poel, it's quite easy to see how that mistake might have been made.
So I was brilliant. I thought the whole, we've had some, the season is cracking actually this year.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoying it, and because we've got the curse period just about to come up, which we'll do a bit of a preview for in a minute. But I'm just so excited about where we're going. I mean, one of the things I was trying to work out where we should put it in. I think this is as good as anywhere. We've got rule changes coming in from the 1st of January. And Xan, as you're someone who's just got your lovely new Van Rysels, you will have been thinking about this a lot, and you alluded to it a moment ago. So, particularly for those people who ride narrow bars, primarily female riders, but it's kind of a prick your ears up here because the new rules are coming in, and we don't know how often they're going to be applied, but it will be pretty easy to apply them. So it's not one of those things where you need a lot of commissaires to do it. And so if you're planning on racing on the continent after the 1st of January, or even for national champs after the 1st of January, or if you're hoping to get into the one of the World Cups, World Champs even, hopefully you'll be aware of the changes to the rules, particularly on handlebar width. And so it is worth getting a ruler out. Unfortunately, Gritty, we don't do we're not like our tire checker, but we don't do a handlebar checker, but it's a bit easier to check these, I think. So Xan, I know this is something that you've had to look into in a bit of detail, so tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so we got this sorted because when we were getting the bikes set up, we thought there was no point getting them set up now to have to change them on the 1st of January. And most people might have seen it, there was a lot of uproar from the riders and the UCI teams when it was originally announced, and they actually did change the values slightly. So from the 1st of January, we will have to be running from the widest point to the widest point, 400 millimeter bars or 40 centimeter bars. And then from the narrowest point, the minimum distance you can have is minimum distance is 280 millimeters. So that's typically going to be where your shifters are, the inside point, which that's what I've had to have mine set up to. And for a lot of riders, if you're running kind of a bike as the bars come, that's probably not going to affect. But if you've chosen to run 36 bars or even narrow bars, or have your hoods turned in at some interesting angle, you might have to unturn those.
Yeah, you don't want to find out when you're on the start line or being gridded. No, that's the point of the gritty tire checker. You don't. That's not time to find out. But so it's not the spec of the bars. So it's actually the measured width of the bars, and so for a bit of clarity on, it's not clarity actually, but just for the technicality on here. So when you buy bars, that's normally to the center. Imagine it being a bent tube. That's normally to the center of the tube. So there's actually another 12 millimeters or so, because your bar ends are all the same size. There's another 12 millimeter each side. So you're actually about 2 centimeters wider than the spec. So if you buy a 380 bar, normally that will actually come up at 400. So if your bars are listed as a 380, then you need to check it, but you should be okay. It should be 400 on either side. So I had a quick look on a few websites, and most of the standard bars are the smallest size they come in. I went through all of the Ritchie bars actually, and they're all 380s, just the smallest size. But some other brands do smaller ones. And as Xan says, if you specifically have got narrow shoulders and you need really narrow bars and you've changed them, then definitely check them if you're planning on racing anything which is not a local league race, because you don't want to find out at that point. As I say, we don't know how much it's going to be enforced, but it's always better to be running legally from day one. So that's coming in 1st of January. So Bohm will be the first race that will be will apply to. So a bit of a public service announcement on that, but also we'll see what happens as we go forward. And at that, I think it's time to look ahead, and we will enter the Leicester Ronda. So it is happy Christmas time, and between now and the next show, depending on when we record, there's going to be loads more action, loads more races. So we've got the a whole series of races. They kick off in Antwerp on the 20th. So we've got a couple of sandy races to get us going in Antwerp and Koksijde. Both World Cups. It's that double weekend. Xan, I'm guessing you're going to be there.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be much surprise. On the start list are also out as we're doing this. So yes, I will be present at Antwerp and Koksijde for even more World Cup fun.
Yeah, that's going to be brilliant. So Antwerp on the beach. So you'll see the harbour. In some ways, it's got some similarities to Sardinia in that you're kind of on and off the beach a bit, but completely different type of conditions, different way of being exposed, and who knows what the weather's going to be like there. Then we go on to the following day. We're at Koksijde, and there's going to be an interesting battle, I desperately hope, at Koksijde. Now, Koksijde is one of the courses which can give us really good racing. Very, very sandy. It's not actually on a beach, but it's on the dunes. So it's a couple of kilometres inland from the beach. And it's got some other sections. It's got run-ups. It's got some fast, relatively flat bits, particularly as you come in towards the finish. But one thing I'm interested in is, when was the last World Cup that we had Nace beat Mathieu van der Poel? It was, I don't know if it was the last one, but it was one, which was at Koksijde. I think that was the last World Cup that Nace beat Van der Poel. Sven Nace is the one I'm talking about. Sven Nace,
yes,
2015, beat
it's
Mathieu
a while
van
ago,
der Poel.
Isn't it?
So wouldn't it be poetry if we got a similar result this time?
I think you're going to be lucky. It sort of springs to mind. But you never know. I think it's a really interesting weekend because you've got Antwerp and or Anvers, as it's sometimes known, and you've got that coming up. You know, you've got Antwerp and you've got Koksijde together. I think it's a really interesting weekend. And yes, Antwerp is the World Cup, and I'm really interested to see how this plays out. I kind of want it to really be different at each race, but I'm not sure it will be. But you've got that day one versus day two. You've got massive race fields on there. I mean, I think it's 88 elite women on the start list for. It's something huge on the Antwerp one, and I think it's 79, 80 in the Koksijde race, just in the elite women's race. So plenty of people to come in front of, Zan. Plenty of people behind you. Don't worry, looking at the back of you. Yeah, lots of people who are going to see you right off into the distance. And there's a real mix, and there's a lot of American contingent coming over as well, which is really interesting to see. So I think how is it going to play out? I don't know. I struggle to see anybody but Brandon van der Poel winning. Sorry, Sam. But then you look at people like Van der Heijden coming in, Van Alphen's coming up. You only need one bad day, one mechanical, one issue, one mistake, and particularly at Koksijde, as you say, Neil, with the sections at the back with the dips and the rises that can get really muddy, and it has been quite wet. So, how's that drained? Has it drained well? Is it still slippery? What's the weather going to do? I mean, at the moment on the continent, it's quite a nice week. It's a very nice week. It's like, don't want to say this, but it's like 3/4 and fingerless mitts kind of weather. And I'm not sure where it is, where Zan is, a little bit further north, but it's quite nice to go out riding at the moment. So it does mean that it's not going to be maybe as slippery as it has been, but this is Koksijde and it can throw anything at you, as well as umpteen tons of people on your start line. It's got two classics for very different reasons, I think.
And the next show, if Neil remembers, we have to do the comparison actually of Koksijde 2015 and Koksijde 2025. See how much we can match up. This was the top 7. Nace, Van Aert, who's not on the start list, sadly. Van der Poel, Van der Haas, Fake, Musen, Toonets were the top 7 in 2015. It's so close. We could get how many of those are going to be in the top 7 this time? That's going to be really interesting. So we will see. Moving on from Koksijde, let's carry on through. So that's 2 days. If you really want 3 days in the row, and this is going to be really interesting because this is an X2O. There's Hofstade, which is in is the beach cross, I think they call it. So it's another sandy one by the sounds of it. I don't know
because it's like they haven't had enough sand already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's 3 days in a row. Are you going to do that one, Zan?
No, I will most definitely be taking a day off after.
So that one could be interesting just to see who's going to do the triple, particularly in the women's. At the front end of the women's competition there, we've got its dominant brand can afford to take it off and she'll be back in the lead again by the end of the next race. Men's competition, there's only a few seconds between them. So that's going to be quite interesting to see who decides to actually race that. But it could be a bit like what we were talking about with Kortrijk. It's an opportunity there for someone to get points, to get the TV coverage. Interesting one, yeah. Then we move on the next day.
Neil, here's a thought for you, because so in that X2O trophy at the moment, Cam Mason is second at 24 seconds.
Exactly.
If you're Cam Mason, how much do you put into the next weekend? 2 sandy races versus the post World Cup weekend. Where do you balance that out, given Joris Nieuwenhuis is in front and Nieuwenhuis is almost certainly going to be having to race pretty hard at the World Cups too? I think there's a tricky to have that, and Thibaut Nice in third. So I think it's very, very tricky.
But Mason is not on the start list for Antwerp. So the start list, I've not seen the start list for. He is for Koksijde.
He is for Koksijde, yeah.
Yeah, but he's not on the start list for Antwerp. Yeah.
Well, is that the game plan? Is that the game plan? Then do your double day going over?
I think it would be. It could be. Yeah. I mean, I think Mason. I mean, they're the ones to do, aren't they? If you're going to do it, yeah. You'd probably be better doing a double when you know what that's like than day on, day off, day back on again. This just doesn't ever happen, does it? Yeah.
Just and you have your day after, but then it's not over then, is it? Because then that's on the 22nd, and then 23rd is that Houston Zolder?
It is Zolder, 23rd.
No, rest of the wicked. Somebody's been very bad. Flipping heck.
Yeah, I know.
20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
Will Michael Van Turenhout race all of them? He seems to race everything, doesn't he? Yeah. And what about you, Zan? Are you planning to be at Zolder?
So I won't be racing till after Christmas, after the 2 World Cups. It is hard because there's so many races and you want to do all of them. But especially with where national champs falls, you have to be careful of picking races that suit you, races that kind of align with your goals best. And you will see some riders just smash it out and do every single race. But you'll also see a lot of riders picking and choosing the courses that suit them, the ones they enjoy, and what they're going to get the most out of towards their long-term season goals.
Yep. So the next one after that then is Gavere, which is on Boxing Day, which is a World Cup. It's muddy, hilly. It's got some. It's all the terrain isn't like Dendermonde. I kind of go comparing 2 races.
It's more parkland than flooded farm fields, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's kind of got those it's got long, steep ups, and then you loop round and then come back down. Now, I was doing a bit of homework for today, and I had a look at Puck Pieterse's preview from 2023 on it. Honestly, look at it. It's so good because she joins up with people and they have a nice chat as they're going around. And Zoe Backstead motors past there as Puck's got off, just been saying how hard it is. And Zoe comes past and says, "Oh, how come you're so fast, Zoe?" She said, "Oh, I've eaten loads of Christmas cake." So
Excellent.
it was so nice. And then they kind of go around bemoaning. And again, it's that thing that
Brilliant.
we all have the experience of where they're talking about how the elite men make it look so easy. And it's really hard, and they can put all this
It's
power
not.
in and climb up the climbs.
Yeah.
So as well as being a classic Puck Pieterse insightful preview, it's well worth having a good listen to it and hearing her chat with Zoe, and I think it's Lucinda Brand by the voice, but I couldn't see who it was. But they're talking about what lines to take. It's a really nice bit of video actually. So I very highly recommend that, and that's for Gavere on Boxing Day. And again, Zan, you know the question. Are you going to plan to do that one, or is it too early to tell?
Yes. From what I've always heard about it, it's always a bit of a slip and slide. It always looks like one of these ones where it's like, oh, it should be good fun. Previously, I've always kind of made the decision to spend Christmas at home because that is one of the sacrifices you make when coming to race the curse period. It's like if you are out for the racing on the 26th, you have to commit to Christmas in another country or away from family. But this year I thought, every year I've gone, I really want to do it. So this year we've just gone.
Yeah. Well,
we
one
can
of my
spend 1 year away.
most favourite Christmases, I spent Christmas in Belgium a few times actually, but one of my favourite ones was when we rode over to Zolder to pre-ride Zolder on Christmas Day. And it was just, it wasn't me writing, I have to hasten to add, but that was just such a beautiful thing to do. It was just lovely. So I do recommend being out there for it. Do it at least once, listeners, if you're
if you get the chance.
If you get the chance to, it's a wonderful thing to do. But yeah, I was there with a team, so we had quite a lot of people racing Zolder actually, which was on the 26th that year. So it's great. So one of the things I did want to mention here is what you're not getting, listeners, is the Crosscast, the Crosscast Cross Christmas quiz this year, the Crosscast Cross Christmas quiz, because message me directly at Crosscast Neil, if you would like a quiz for your end of season, like your league awards night. I was thinking we could do a Crosscast one for now, but actually I do them for Notts and Derby League. I've done those in the past. And if you would like to be part of the action on that, and I could do something for whatever league, happy to just share it with you.
I warn you, it's hard.
Well, the idea of the...
It's absolutely brilliant. I have to say, Neil, don't listen to this because your ego won't fit in the screen. It is a brilliant, having hosted, having gone to, I went to the Notts and Derby Awards dinner last year actually as well. It's one of the best things you can do. It's really fun. I always make an absolute fool of myself because I get like so few right on the way through. It is brilliant, and there's always some people that get some people. Imagine a pub quiz, but about your favourite subject, cyclocross. Yeah. It is genius.
Yeah. The idea of a good quiz is... So I always say that the benchmark has to be everyone gets a good number right and no one gets all of them right. That's always the judgment on that. I think it needs to be hard enough so that there's someone who can get almost all of them right, but not all of them right. But easy enough so that most people get most of them right. So I'm planning on doing it for the Notts and Derby League. And it would be great if we can extend that out to other leagues if you want to be part of that. So do send me a message, and we could then... I'll work something out. Might even be able to persuade the boss to put a prize in from Gritty. And those people that know well, Caroline rode her bike again today for the first time in 6 months. So that was absolutely amazing after a bit of surgery. So outside on the bike was a massive result today, so that was excellent. So that, I think we need to wrap up. Thanks again, guys. Always fun. Good luck, Zan, at Antwerp, Koksijde, Gavere, everything else you're doing over that period. May the mud be appropriate the wind favourable and the legs good. So hopefully it all
No
goes
sun,
well.
lots of rain, lots of bumpers,
Please,
Zan.
great.
Yeah. And for people that want to follow what you're doing, Zan, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so nice and simple. You can find me on most social media platforms. It's just Zan Cruz, typically no spaces. But yeah, if you don't have to spell that, it should be in captions, bios of the Crosscast. Matt, what about you doing for the next few weeks? I think, are we back on the commentary as well?
Very, very soon. In fact, yes, I've got a really busy week actually, because the 20th, 21st, 23rd, 2nd, 23rd, I'm also going to the 47th. I'm planning on dashing out the studio this coming Sunday to the 47th running of the Montbron-Aymauthier Cyclocross in France. Which has such riders as Joshua Dubois, Clement Venturini, certain PFPs going to be racing as well on the cross there. It is a who's who of French cyclocross on bike racing going, 47th edition. It's a bit tight on time, so I would suggest avoiding the roads from the studio to Montbron in the Charente. And if you see a white Dacia Duster coming through there at about warp speed, get out of the way quick, because I've got a race to watch there. That's the plan. It's tight on time, but I'm planning on trying to make it there for that as well. And then, yes, I take over commentary duties from Anthony, who's been holding for the UCI, covering all of the cyclocross all the way to, I think his last one is going to run in just before Gavere. And then I'm in Gavere for the UCI right the way to the end of the World Championships. So UCI YouTube channel going out wherever you don't have your own dedicated cross coverage that's been paid for by one of the TV companies. You end up with me. Sorry.
Excellent. You can find
you
me
can
at
also get hold of me on social media as well. But get Neil. Yeah. Follow Neil, follow Gritty, follow Zan. Much better idea.
Yeah.
It's about riders and teams, not about commentators.
So you can find me at Crosscast Neil on most things. And you can also follow what we're doing at Gritty. Last order date is quite late, actually. But ideally, please put your orders in early if you're getting your Christmas shopping in. So I ideally by Friday this week. But yeah, officially the last order date is actually the beginning of next week. But you then need to put in your special next day delivery business. But yeah, do come along and check those out, and then we will be whizzing things off to the post office and getting them all out. Everything goes out Royal Mail, actually, so it's a bit better at this time of year than some of the others. So we're looking forward to that. And even if you're listening to this if you've just finished Zolder and you realise I haven't got time to get anything delivered, you can always go to the gritty.co.uk and buy someone a gift voucher, which would be very nice. If you want to support the show directly, then you can go to buymeacoffee.com/crosscast, and that will then be a donation which comes to us to keep the show on the road. There's some Christmas spicy coffee or something. I'm sure it'd be metaphorical, but it would be lovely to feel some of that love, and that will keep us going into 2026 and beyond, we hope. So that will finish up. Thanks for listening, everyone, and good luck, Zan, and look forward to hearing you probably before I see you next, Matt. So with that, I'll see you all on the other side of the tape. Bye.